My name is Emily Carter, and today, April 5, 2025, I sit in our small house in Da Nang, Vietnam, with a heaviness in my chest I can't shake. The air feels thick with memories, and the ticking of the old clock on the wall seems louder than ever, counting down moments I'm terrified we don't have left. I'm here to tell you about my brother, James Carter, a man who walked out of our lives over 30 years ago and never came back. He was born in 1957, which makes him 68 now, if he's still alive. I cling to that if like it's the last thread of hope keeping my family together. It was 1992 when James left. He'd always been the restless one, the big brother who'd chase dreams beyond the horizon. That year, he packed a worn duffel bag, kissed Mom on the forehead, and said he was heading to Quang Nai for a construction job. "I'll be back soon, Emily," he promised, ruffling my hair like I was still a kid. I was 20 then, young enough to believe him without question. He'd gone off before, Hanoi, Quang Nai, wherever the work took him, but he always returned, his boots dusty, his grin wide. Sometimes he'd bring me little treasures, a wooden doll with chipped paint, a hand-stitched handkerchief for Mom. Those visits were like sunlight breaking through a storm, warming our cramped home with his laughter, but that time in '92, the sunlight never came back. Months turned into years. And James became a ghost haunting our conversations. Mom, now 90, lies in the next room, her frail body sinking into the mattress. She hasn't eaten in days, hasn't spoken much either, just whispers his name, James, James, like a prayer she hopes will reach him. Her eyes, cloudy with age, stay fixed on the door, as if she can will him to walk through it. Dad, Henry Carter, passed years ago, and I think that broke something in her she never fixed. She'd always say our family was tight-knit, a circle of love nothing could break. So why did James leave us? Why did he vanish without a word? I've replayed that question 1,000 times, driving myself crazy with guesses. Maybe he started a new family somewhere, ashamed to face us. Maybe something terrible happened, a job gone wrong, an accident on some dusty road. I don't know. All I have is a faded photo, James in his work clothes, standing under a blazing sun, his face half-shadowed but still carrying that familiar spark. It's all I could give when I walked into Michael Scott's studio yesterday, my hands trembling as I handed it over. Michael runs a community program, a lifeline for people like us, and I begged him to help. He's tall, skinny, black hair, probably gray now, I said, my voice cracking. He left in 1992. Left behind 3 kids who've grown up without him. Please, Michael, Mom's dying. She just wants to see him one last time. Michael looked at me with kind eyes, the kind that make you believe miracles might still happen. We'll put this out there, Emily, he said, holding the photo like it was something sacred. The community will hear you. If there's no word in 5 days, call me back. I nodded, tears spilling over, because 5 days feels like an eternity when every breath Mom takes could be her last. I don't know if James is out there, if he's forgotten us, or if he's too broken to come home. But as I sit here, listening to the clock tick and Mom's faint murmurs, I know I can't give up. Not yet. This is my plea, for James, for Mom, for the family we used to be. The moment I left Michael Scott's studio, a flicker of hope sparked inside me, fragile but stubborn, like a candle fighting to stay lit in a storm. It was still April 5, 2025, and as I walked back through the bustling streets of Da Nang, the weight of my plea clung to me like damp clothes. I'd poured my heart out on that program, and now it was up to the world, or at least this corner of it, to listen. Back home, Mom's breathing was shallower, her whispers of James barely audible over the hum of the ceiling fan. Every second felt like a plea of its own, urging me to keep going, to believe we weren't too late. That evening, I sat by the TV, clutching the remote so tight my knuckles turned white. Michael's voice came through the speakers, steady and warm, cutting through the static of my nerves. "This is a call for help," he began, holding up that faded photo of James I'd given him. "Emily Carter from Da Nang needs to find her brother, James Carter. He's 68 now, born in 1957, tall and skinny with black hair, likely gray by now. He left home in 1992 for a construction job in Quang Ngai and hasn't been seen since. His mother, 90 years old, is fading fast, desperate to see him one last time. I stared at the screen as James's face flickered there, frozen in that old snapshot, his half-smile, his work shirt stained with sweat, the sun beating down behind him. It was like seeing a ghost. One I'd been chasing for decades. I'd told Michael everything I could remember, every scrap of detail that might jog someone's memory. James wasn't just a name, he was the brother who taught me to ride a bike, who'd laughed loudest at Dad's terrible jokes. But after he left, I'd tried to find him myself, long before this. Years ago, I'd taken buses to Quang Ngai, wandering through dusty towns and half-built sites, asking strangers if they'd seen a man like him. Tall guy, quiet, works with his hands, I'd say, showing that same photo until it started to crease at the edges. Once, a grizzled foreman squinted at it and muttered, might have seen him, years back, but he moved on. That was the closest I'd come, a whisper of maybe that evaporated like smoke. Now, sitting here, I wondered if I'd missed him by days, or if he'd been hiding from us all along. Michael's voice pulled me back. If you know James, if you've seen him, please call us. His family's waiting. He set the photo down gently, like it was more than just paper. And I felt a lump rise in my throat. Emily, he'd said off-air, we'll do everything we can. If there's no word in 5 days, reach out again. 5 days. It sounded like a lifeline and a deadline all at once. I glanced at Mom, her chest rising and falling so faintly I had to lean close to be sure she was still with us. Could she hold on that long? Could I? As the broadcast ended, I turned off the TV, the silence crashing in around me. I pictured people out there, shopkeepers, drivers, old coworkers, pausing to listen, maybe recognizing that face. It was a wild hope, but it was all I had. I'd spent years searching alone, knocking on doors that never opened, chasing shadows that slipped away. Now, with Michael and the community behind me, it felt different, like the weight wasn't just mine to carry anymore. I pressed my hands together, whispering to no one in particular, please, someone know him. Please bring James home. The clock ticked on, and for the first time in a long while, I let myself believe we might not be at the end of this story yet. The next day, April 6, 2025, started like a dream I couldn't wake from, hazy, restless, with Mom's faint breathing as the only sound keeping me grounded. I'd barely slept, my mind racing with what-ifs after Michael's broadcast. Then, just as the sun crept over Da Nang's rooftops, my phone buzzed, shattering the quiet. It was Michael Scott, his voice tight with urgency. Emily, we've got something. Someone in Hà Tiên says they know a man who matches James's description. I'm calling him now, stay on the line. My heart slammed against my ribs, a mix of dread and hope choking me. I clutched the phone, whispering, please, let it be him. Please. Michael patched me into the call. And after a crackle of static, a rough, tired voice came through. Hello. This is James Carter. My knees buckled. I sank onto the floor, tears streaming before I could stop them. James. Oh my God, James, is it really you? I choked out. His pause felt like forever, then he said, yeah, Emily. It's me. 30 years of silence broke in that moment, and I couldn't tell if I was sobbing or laughing. My brother, my big, brave James, was alive, his voice trembling across the miles from Hà Tiên, a small town in Kiên Giang I'd never even thought to look. Where have you been? I asked, my words tumbling over each other. Why didn't you come home? His answer came slow, heavy with regret. I was mad at Dad, Emily. You remember how we fought, those last months before I left. Then the job in Quang Ngai fell apart, and I couldn't face you all. I kept moving, trying to start over, but nothing worked. I'm in Hà Tiên now, been here years. My eyes are bad, my hands shake, I've got nothing left. His voice cracked, and I pictured him, not the strong, sunlit James from that old photo, but a frail man in a crumbling shack, surrounded by shadows of a life he'd run from. I saw him sitting alone at night, maybe staring at the stars, wondering about us but too ashamed to pick up a phone. "James, Mom's dying," I said, my throat tight. "She's been calling your name, waiting for you. You have to come back, now." He went quiet, and I could hear his ragged breath. "She's still waiting?" he whispered, like he couldn't believe it. "I didn't know, Emily. I didn't think anyone cared anymore." That broke me. How could he think we'd stopped? I'd spent decades chasing his ghost, and Mom had spent them praying he'd walk through that door. "We never stopped," I said. "Please, James, come home." Michael jumped in, practical amid my flood of emotions. "James, where exactly are you? We'll get you back." James mumbled an address, some rundown spot in Hatien's outskirts, and I scribbled it down. My hands shaking so bad the ink smeared. "I don't have papers, no ID," James added. "Lost it all years ago." My mind raced, how do you get someone home with nothing? But I didn't care. He was alive, and that was enough. "We'll figure it out," I said, my voice firm for the first time. "You're coming back to Mom, to us." Hanging up, I sat there, staring at the wall, the reality sinking in. James wasn't a memory anymore, he was real, broken but breathing, just a few hundred miles away. I could still hear his voice, faint and rough, echoing with guilt he'd carried too long. I imagined him in that shack, maybe surrounded by chipped cups and threadbare clothes, a man who'd lost everything but still had us, if he'd let himself believe it. The clock ticked louder now, a countdown not just for Mom, but for James too. I had to bring him home, no matter what it took. The second James's voice faded from the phone on April 6, 2025, a fire lit inside me. He was out there, alive, and every tick of that relentless clock pushed me harder. Mom's breathing was a faint rasp now, her hand cold in mine as I sat by her bed in our Da Nang home. I couldn't lose her, not before she saw him. I grabbed my phone again, dialing Sarah, my youngest sister, who'd been pacing the kitchen all morning. "Sarah, it's James, he's in Hatien. We've got to get him back tonight." My voice cracked, desperation spilling out. "Mom's slipping, Sarah. She won't make it much longer." Sarah didn't hesitate. "How do we do it? What does he need?" she asked, her tone sharp with the same urgency I felt. "Money," I said. "He's got no ID, no way to fly, just a bus ticket will do. Michael's with him now." I yelled at Sarah, "Send the money now, James has to come tonight." Because with every passing minute, I feared Mom would close her eyes without seeing him. Sarah fumbled with her phone, muttering about bank apps, while I pictured James standing at some dusty bus stop in Hatien, his shaky hands clutching a ticket we'd paid for with every dime we could scrape together. "It's done," Sarah said finally. "Michael's got the cash, he'll get him on the next bus." I called Michael back, my heart pounding. "He's on his way, right?" Michael's voice was calm but firm. "Yes, Emily. James is packing what little he has. The bus leaves in an hour, 10 hours to Da Nang. He'll be there by morning." 10 hours. I glanced at Mom, her chest barely moving, and prayed she could hold on that long. "Tell him to hurry," I whispered, though I knew it was useless, buses don't care about dying mothers or broken families. That night, our house turned into a vigil. Sarah brewed coffee no one drank, the bitter smell mixing with the antiseptic sting of Mom's room. I kept imagining James on that bus, his thin frame hunched in a worn seat, the hum of the engine drowning out his thoughts. Did he see our faces in the dark windows? Did he regret those 30 years of silence? I remembered the last time I'd seen him, waving from our porch as he headed off to Quang Ngai, his duffel bag slung over his shoulder. Now I pictured him stepping off that bus at dawn, older, friendlier, but still my brother. The kids, his 3 grown children, called too, their voices thick with shock. "Aunt Emily, is it really Dad?" they asked. "Yes," I said. "He's coming home." Michael patched James through again, late that night. "Emily," he rasped, the road noise rumbling behind him, "I'm on the bus. I'm so sorry, for everything." His words hit me like a punch. "Don't be sorry, James. Just get here. Mom's waiting, she's always been waiting." I heard him choke back a sob, and I did too. "Tell her I'm coming," he said. "Tell her I love her." I nodded, though he couldn't see, and hung up, rushing to Mom's side. "He's on his way, Mom," I whispered, brushing her thin hair. "James is coming home." Her lips twitched, maybe a smile, but her eyes stayed shut, those 10 hours stretched like a lifetime. I sat by Mom, counting her breaths. Willing her to stay with us. Sarah hovered nearby, checking her phone for updates from Michael. The house was silent except for that damn clock, ticking away the night. I kept seeing James in my mind, stepping off the bus, his eyes searching for us, his steps unsteady but determined. He was so close now, after all these years, and yet every mile felt like a gamble. Would he make it in time? Would Mom open her eyes one last time to see him? All I could do was hold her hand and wait, the weight of 30 lost years pressing down as the first light of morning crept through the window. The sun was just breaking over Da Nang on April 7, 2025, when I heard the low rumble of a bus pulling into the station down the street. My heart leapt, and I ran to the porch, Sarah right behind me, our eyes scanning the dusty lot. Then I saw him, James, stepping off with a limp, his silver hair catching the morning light. He was thinner than I remembered, his face carved with lines of a hard life, but those eyes, hazy and tired, were still his. I sprinted across the yard, throwing my arms around him, and he hugged me back, his grip weak but real. "Emily," he whispered, his voice breaking, "I made it." I pulled back, tears blurring my vision, and grabbed his hand. "Come on, Mom's waiting." We hurried inside, the house still heavy with that sleepless night. Sarah followed, her phone buzzing with calls from James's kids, who were racing to get here too. I led him to Mom's bedside, her frail form barely a shadow under the blanket. "Mom," I said softly, shaking her gently, "James is here." Her eyes fluttered open, cloudy but alive, and she turned her head. When she saw him, a faint smile curved her lips. "James, Con V Roy," she murmured in Vietnamese, her voice a thread of sound. He sank to his knees beside her, grasping her hand. "I'm so sorry, Mom. I love you." She squeezed his fingers, her breath hitching, and then her eyes closed again, peaceful this time. She was gone. But she'd seen him, she'd waited long enough. I stood there, sobbing quietly, as Sarah wrapped an arm around me. James stayed by Mom, his head bowed, tears dripping onto the floor. It was a moment I'd dreamed of for 30 years, bittersweet and perfect all at once. Later that morning, his 3 kids arrived, grown now, successful, their faces a mix of shock and relief. They hugged him, tentative at first, then fierce, and we all sat down to a meal, the first in decades with James at the table. The rice was cold, the fish sauce untouched, but it didn't matter. We talked over each other, laughed through tears, piecing together the years we'd lost. James told us about Ha Tien, the lonely nights, the shame that kept him away. "I thought you'd be better off without me," he said, and I shook my head. "We were never whole without you." Michael Scott called that afternoon, his voice warm with pride. "You did it, Emily. How's it feel?" I smiled, exhausted but full. "Like a miracle, Michael. Thank you, and everyone who helped. We'd promised to thank the community, money for the tipster. Support for Michael's program, and we meant it. This wasn't just our story anymore, it was theirs too." That night, as we cleared the table, I thought about what we'd gained, not just James, but a lesson carved deep. No matter how far you stray, family is a tether you can't cut. I'd spent years chasing him, and Mom had spent them waiting, because love doesn't give up, not ever. Looking at James now, frail but home, I knew this was his second chance. His kids vowed to care for him, to make up for lost time, and I felt a weight lift. Mom had left us with peace, her last smile a gift we'd carry forever. I stepped outside, the evening air cool against my face, and whispered to the sky. "We're whole again, Mom. Rest easy." The clock inside ticked on, but for the first time, it didn't feel like a countdown, just a rhythm of a family reborn.